Hey there, and welcome back. We do have some breaking Ben Simmons news that he's told the Philadelphia 76ers that he does want out of the team. And now this is really interesting because we've known all along that Philly, kind of had tentative plans to trade him. They've been asking for a massive package. Sheldon, are you kind of buying in on what Ben Simmons is saying? And also, what are you thinking a trade market could like for him right now?
Yeah, I am buying in on the reports here that Ben Simmons does not want to be a member of the Philadelphia 76ers. This is not surprising here. When you are a player from Clutch Sports, it's obvious the way that that agency works with Rich Paul as the agent there, that he's going to try and do the best for his players at all times. And Ben Simmons just doesn't fit there in Philadelphia. We've been saying this for years. Another postseason collapse finally has the truth coming out that Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid are just not going to work together. Two phenomenal individual players. Ben Simmons has been working out in California pretty much all offseason, and we know how Philadelphia is as a fan base. I think quite hostile would be a good way to to discuss them a little bit, because when their players aren't playing well, they're not afraid of holding back a little bit of criticism and harsh reality for them. Even when Mike Scott was cheering for the Washington Redskins a few years ago, he actually got in a fight with some Philadelphia 76ers fans who were cheering for the Eagles that day. That's the kind of fan base we're talking about. And Ben Simmons' character just doesn't really fit that type of fan base, especially with some of his recent struggles in the playoffs. But you're still looking at a guy who's going to average at least 15, 16 points a game. He averages 7 rebounds, 7 assists a night, very efficient from the field, shooting around 55%. So there's going to be a lot of trade interest in him around the league. There's going to be a lot of teams looking for a guy who has 4 years on his contract left. Even some of the small market teams can be involved in trade talks for Ben Simmons because you have real team control. And he's going to want to go to a situation where he feels appreciated, feels like a build around piece, and is going to be treated with the respect that I think he deserves as a player.
What do you think some of those teams that really fit in terms of like trade packages that are available? Now, let's kind of talk a little bit about what he had made in his request. He wants to be in California. You mentioned he was working out in LA. Do you think one of these California teams are the front runners? Because I think there is a clear and obvious one that's really going to try to make a push.
I think the Golden State Warriors are the team that actually does make the most sense on paper. You're looking at Ben Simmons being an uber athletic Draymond Green. I think Ben Simmons needs to play the power forward position offensively and be a freak defender for them. They have the contract in Andrew Wiggins that could fit to attach to any Ben Simmons deal. They have draft pick assets. They've got some young guys that they could toss in depending on what Philadelphia is really looking for. And Wiggins could help Philadelphia stay competitive. I think Wiggins is one of the more underrated players around the league. Sure, his contract's not necessarily a net positive, but again, he's still a good player. And I think Ben Simmons going into Golden State could help take some of the ball handling pressure off of Steph Curry, which I think is a severe need there. We saw that the last year with his usage and kind of how Steve Kerr relies on him. Having another guy who's capable of handling the rock, he also would give them another element in the offense, especially in the transition game where Ben Simmons is one of the best in the NBA in that area. I think the Sacramento Kings and their new GM Monty McNair is going to have a lot of interest in making a move for Ben Simmons during the summer league. One fan actually asked McNair if he's going to try and make a move for Simmons, and he kind of gave this like half nod. I don't know if he necessarily heard him correctly, but I do think that is something to monitor, especially since they are there in California. The Lakers, of course, Rich Paul is going to want to get Ben Simmons to be LeBron's teammate. I just don't see a realistic route for that, though, at this time. And then the Clippers, I don't really know what to make of them at this point, because it's kind of a weird situation for them to make a buy-winning move right now, just with Kawhi Leonard out. But I do think down the road, if Ben Simmons doesn't get traded immediately, they could be a team to watch as well.
Now, there's one other team outside of California that is worth talking about. Is a team that has a ton of interest. Gerson Rosas for the Minnesota Timberwolves has made note that he is pushing to go get Ben Simmons. What do you think a trade package would look like from the Timberwolves?
Right. The Wolves, I think, are actually a really realistic landing spot for Ben Simmons. You and I have talked about this a lot off the air, off the channel. And it's kind of ludicrous to me that there's an idea going around right now that the Wolves could form a big four, essentially, of D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards, Ben Simmons, and Karl Anthony Towns. I'm sorry, a Ben Simmons deal to Minnesota is not happening if D'Angelo Russell's not in there. D'Angelo Russell's about 60% of the trade package going to Philadelphia. Straight up, those two players are not getting traded for each other. Ben Simmons is a much better player than D'Angelo Russell, and Philadelphia knows that. Even with the clunky fit between Simmons and Embiid, they're not going to make that move. And I think Russell would be a nice fit there. So you're looking at him being probably the starting point, a guy like Malik Beasley probably gets attached in there. Money gets a little tighter at that point, trying to figure out other nice pieces that could go along. Josh Okogie maybe comes up into the fold. And those three players probably look to be part of the package to Ben Simmons. You might even have to give up a draft pick in there because Ben Simmons is a premier defender. Let's not forget he was first team all defense and he averages 16, 7, and 7. Now, he has some offensive limitations. I'm not saying that Ben Simmons is one of the best players in the NBA because that's just not simply the truth. He's not a top 20 guy because of some of those offensive incapabilities, but he's still a phenomenal player all around. And he's someone who could really help Minnesota, especially in their areas of need. Defensively, he can guard out on the perimeter, can help underneath as well. I think he'd be a perfect complement to Karl Anthony Towns, who, unlike Joel Embiid, loves to sit on the three-point line, loves to shoot the three ball, and shoots at an extremely high clip. So I think the Wolves are a really good natural fit. But if he does end up in Minnesota, do not expect D'Angelo Russell to be on the team with him.
Yeah, I just don't see there really being a pathway where that could happen, where they form that big four. But Minnesota does have quite a bit of assets to give up, and they have been extremely aggressive in trying to really work out a deal. Now, my final prompt to you here is, do you think Ben Simmons, game number 1, will be on this roster?
I do think he will be on the 76ers roster come October 20th. I don't see a move going this quickly. Daryl Morey, he's very comfortable in awkward situations. He is in no rush to make a move here. He's going to try and maximize value. We've heard some of the trade reports out there that he wants an all-star level player and 4 first-round picks. That is ridiculous value for Ben Simmons. And that's because he's not in a rush to move him. He's looking for the absolute best package. And I think ultimately he's probably waiting for Damian Lillard to possibly request out. I think Damian Lillard is really the big-time player that the 76ers would love to get. They would throw Ben Simmons and assets to go get Damian Lillard, and they'd instantly become one of the championship favorites with that move. Having Damian Lillard and Joel Embiid, that's a perfect pairing at the point guard and center position. So until we really have a better idea of what Philadelphia could do here, I just don't see Ben Simmons getting traded because, I mean, if you're Philadelphia, are you in love with a D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley combination? Is that going to put you over the hump against the Brooklyn Nets in the Eastern Conference? I'm not sold on that. And I don't think Daryl Morey will be sold on that either. He likes to go get a true second star. And I think he's got Damian Lillard on his radar.
I think Damian Lillard is the number one target for Daryl Morey. I think it's pretty evident that he wants 2 megastars on that team. He's not going to settle for a couple of, nice young players. He's going to go for the big catch. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. Also, leave a like if you did enjoy this video. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys in our next video.